All right, what's up, everybody? Back today again, 10 o'clock Eastern. And yesterday I did end up going to Cherokee. Checked it out over there for the WSOP event that they do. And for years, I've been hearing really good things about how they do the WSOP over there. I mean, it's pretty rare, especially in modern times with poker, for all of the feedback that you hear about a particular location to just be positive, right? Especially when people are going there losing money, like that's one of the things that I love about Dallas is that the review of the poker is almost always positive, and it's actually the same thing with the Cherokee WSOP and tournament series in general. People absolutely love it. They love coming for the tournament series. They love the experience of it. They put on a good show, and I got to see it firsthand. I did not play in any events when I went there. That really wasn't the point of what I was going there for. My friend is involved in running the WSOP event in April in Texas, and so he was there, sort of like experiencing the whole thing, checking it out, making sure that he's prepared for all the details, seeing the details up close and all that stuff. And it's close to where I live, so I was like, oh, let me go out there too and spend a little bit of time, see him, because he lives far away. So that was a cool experience getting to see all that. I got to meet the person that runs it, and I mean, so one thing for me that was wild. They have 130 tables in the main room in the event center is where they have it, and they have those things up in the ceiling, that those metal, I don't want to call them beams, it's like the interlaced metal for stage and production stuff, and they have this stuff hanging down, like the studio lighting and all that. And I mean, that stuff in itself is pretty cool. And it's good to see all that. And they have like such a beautiful setup. It reminds me of when I used to go to the events that they had in South Florida that the Seminoles put on. I liked being around that stuff. There's just so many tables, and in this corner they have this tournament, in this corner they have this tournament, in this corner. So they run multiple things all at the same time too. Did a great job with it. Very impressed with the Cherokee setup for this. And like I said, all the feedback was positive essentially for what I saw at Cherokee. It made sense. And then I played a little bit of 1-3 no limit, just to say that I've played poker before at the Cherokee location. I'd been there one time and I didn't actually play anything. So I played a little bit of 1-3 poker, and that was fun. And I put well, my buddy put a little bet in for the Spurs to win the championship in San Antonio. Uh, just I don't know, it just feels fun to root for Wemby, right? And they were given 12-1 on that, which I thought was interesting. So that was pretty fun too. And yeah, I mean, for those that haven't been to the Cherokee Casino, it is an absolutely enormous, enormous property. I was actually exhausted walking around there. It's that big. I made the mistake of parking in the furthest parking lot away from the poker event. And I didn't measure this myself, but someone else told me that they measured it the day before because they made the same mistake, and it was 0.8 miles to get across the property at Cherokee, from that parking lot over to where they had the WSOP event. And 130 tables is a really cool thing to experience. They had like 40 something of those tables going for one event, and some other tables going for some other stuff, and just big, big, big property. And I'm finding out that I know very few people in the North Carolina poker scene. Like, I've lived in North Carolina in Asheville for 3 years and literally never interacted with the poker world out here at all. And so that was interesting for me to be in it's one of the only times I've ever been in a huge room full of people, and I'm looking around and I don't recognize anyone, players, dealers. Like, there were a couple of people on the property that I knew that I didn't run into, but that was unusual for me. But I was talking to the dealer in the regular cash room, which is separate, and really, really nice dealer. And man, did he have positive things to say about working at the Cherokee poker room, like just on the regular. He said he'd been there for 15 years, and um, just I mean, I was asking him some basic questions, like they do hour-long pushes there, which a couple years ago when they first started doing that, that was sort of a thing they did after COVID a couple years ago when they started doing that. I actually had people reach out to me asking if I could send a message to the poker room manager asking them to change back to 40-minute downs. And I did send that email, and the manager responded in a nice way and asked me for some more evidence because he said he thought that the people really liked it. This guy, the dealer that was dealing to me in the 1-3 no limit game that worked there and he's been there for 15 years, said he loves it. He said he loves the 1 hour long tables. Um, and he says he tries, he always crosses his fingers when he gets there, and he hopes that in his 8 hours he comes in and he deals 4 tables, one break, 3 tables, go home. He said those are the best days. And I was thinking about it, and I sort of understand where he's coming from, right? Like, it's sort of, I imagine that it makes the day go by faster. And he also said that when you do an hour per table and you're changing tables less frequently, that you're not missing as many hands, you're not standing up as long. I mean, I guess that makes sense too, right? He says it saves you about 4 hands per hour roughly that you're getting in when you're not like standing behind the previous dealer and waiting. I don't know. I don't know. I like switching tables when I'm dealing every 30 minutes personally. And I also I asked him, I was like, well, what if there's like a really good game in the room? You're either gonna get it or you're not. And he's like, yeah, it's fine. I mean, we all understand it's done well. And he said he loves working at Cherokee. So uh to the people in charge at Cherokee, both for the regular poker room that's there all the time and the WSOP event, um, between the staff and the players and people that I've talked to over the years, everybody says nothing but positive things about your room. So you guys are doing a great job, and like I'm impressed. It's hard to just have so many positive vibes about a poker room period nowadays. So many people complain about so many different things, and so and it's the type of thing too where this dealer he'd been dealing for 15 years. But you know how you can just tell sometimes when someone's like genuinely telling the truth, like genuinely, I, like I'm impressed. You can just tell that they like working there. They feel happy to have this job and be a part of this room. And um, that's another thing too. The dealers that I've talked to around the country, whenever they talk about the Cherokee WSOP stop, they always say how much they love stopping there. Like just everything about it. And for those that don't know, the Cherokee Casino is 10 minutes from one of the visitor centers for Smoky Mountain National Park. Like if anyone were to ever go to Cherokee, they would definitely get a positive experience in and out of poker. Like if you wanted to go to the national park, it's literally right there. Um, and yeah, I mean, it's a pretty cool thing. It's also sort of a funny layout for the property. It's very long. It's a huge casino, but it's on a road on the edge of the beginning of a mountain or hill or whatever you want to call it. It's steep on the side, so it seemed like they had to build long instead of just like a big and more round. So I thought that was interesting, getting to see all that. But no, I liked it there. I did think it was a little bit surprising that it seemed like they had the Bravo system, and it seemed like they used seat cards. I mean, I didn't ask them why they chose to do it this way, but they use seat cards. Whenever a player leaves the table, they would put the seat card down, and that reminded me of like the mid 2000s. On the Bravo app and the technology, like it shows what seats are open to the person that's like logged into the computer in the front of the room. So you should always be able to tell. But I mean, that's their choice. I can't criticize it without understand. That's one thing that I've learned over the years is I'm not going to just criticize the way that somebody does something without asking a little bit about the history of how it led to be like that. And it is what it is, right? Like they choose to do it that way. And I'm sure that they have their reasons, and without knowing their reasons, I don't want to be critical of it, especially when the employees say that they really like working there and the players seem to like playing there. I was also surprised to see at Cherokee that they seem to do eight-handed for the 1-3 no limit cash game. It seemed to be eight-handed. Um, that felt unusual to me, and I understand that it's good for the poker room, but it is a little surprising to see eight-handed cash games as a max. And I guess maybe it was just a coincidence, but it seemed like it was actually in that way. Meaning maybe there was a chair that was missing from the table that I was at, but I don't think so. I think it was actually eight-handed games. So you drop more rake, right? looked like they were taking 7 and 2 as well, which is it felt like a lot, but I mean, poker room's got to make money, I guess, right? But it was fun. It was fun being there. The players were much quieter than in Dallas. Like in Dallas, it's very social. You sit down at a poker table. Florida is it can be social. It can be sort of serious, but people are talking a little bit more. At least when I was there 5 years ago. But in um, at the Cherokee Room, at least in the small sample size, I played for about 2 hours. The small sample size of the time that I was there, it was pretty darn quiet at the table. Not really a lot of chatter. I was sitting next to my friend at the table, so we were talking, but almost nobody joined in to the conversation. And um, yeah, it was an interesting dynamic overall. But it was nice, it was nice being there. And my legs are actually tired just from walking around that property. And it is pretty cool that they had the Gordon Ramsay food court. I did end up getting a burger that was called the Hell's Kitchen Burger in the food court. And uh, I mean, it's like you got to name Gordon Ramsay. Uh, it's like, what is this? You gotta name Gordon Ramsay, and um, I don't know. I mean, maybe I expected a little bit more. The food was good. Don't get me wrong. They had a really cool thing that they put the buns on. So they toasted the burger bun, and then they had this metal. It looked like a metal like circle or cylinder with holes in it. And on the top side, he would put the bun. So he would just rest the bun on the top of it, and it kept circling around. And on the bottom side, it went into a little um, bowl type thing, and I think it had melted butter down there, so it kept spinning into the melted butter, and then he put the bun on top, and then it would like spin the little metal onto it with melted butter, which is really interesting. It's like, oh, as a chef, you have to be either a little inventive. I don't know if he came up with that, or just find the stuff, the tools that are the right tools. But yeah, so anyway, it was a good experience at Cherokee. One of the few times where I've been to a large group of poker and like didn't really know anybody there. That was a just a unusual experience because it's just like I'll go to Vegas, I'll go to poker just about anywhere, like California, like, and I always know people. And so I guess somehow maybe the people in North Carolina sort of stick to themselves with poker, and this is where they go, this is their spot, and they don't try other rooms a whole lot. Maybe they have to travel far to get to this one in the first place. I know that Cherokee for the longest time didn't really have a lot of competition. They were telling me that it used to be 8 hours in any direction in order to have any competition. And so I guess that's not the case or it's not the case anymore, but it's still like it's pretty remote. By the way, driving there was it took me about an hour from Asheville to get to Cherokee, and it was the first half of it was highway, and then the second half of it was like mountainy, windy roads, and the type of driving where you really got to pay attention. It was very beautiful, but it was also very not that challenging, I guess. Like I've been on some really crazy roads, but definitely not the most relaxing hour in the world. But it was cool, like I said, that everybody was so happy to be there. So that's a nice thing when people that are at the like working in the property just seem to feel genuinely happy to have their jobs and work there and appreciate it. So it was cool. So yeah, so anyway, if anybody is tuned in, say hi. Um, you know, I am here to answer questions, and let me see. We've got remote school that starts really soon, and I mean, this is coming up on Mondays when it starts. Very excited about that. Keep an eye on my website. I might be doing some flash deals at the very end. Keep an eye out on that. Uh, I've got a couple of coupon codes that I've got limited to a couple of spots each, and I might just throw them up there. Also, if you're watching and you just like the video, helps the algorithm for me. More people will see this, and I will appreciate that. And yeah, so depending on how many people are in the chat talking today, I might keep today a little bit short. I got a little bit of stuff to do in order to wrap things up to be ready for the remote dealer school that starts on Monday. And It's been an interesting journey starting the very first remote dealer school. Like I was talking to a handful of people yesterday about it in different ways, and I'm understanding that even though it's I think it's pretty clear what it is that the school is. um it's almost like people don't have the attention span to take that 30 seconds and picture it, and like I understand how it is nowadays. Sports Rule 193 says hi. Hey, thank you. I appreciate that. Hi. Are you a poker dealer? Are you interested in learning? Are you um, like curious about anything? I'm here to answer questions. I'm here to say hey, and I appreciate the hi. So yeah, so like it's been a really interesting journey. Like, uh, you know, it's one thing to run like regular classes in a traditional setting. It's another thing to sort of invent a an online presence on YouTube like I have for teaching people to do this job. Um, it's another thing to teach people via video, which I had to learn how to do that. Like I had to teach myself over the last 6 years of doing one-on-ones over Zoom. I had to teach myself a whole process. I had to build it out. I had to utilize like the technology and help people create their setups and all that stuff, and that's been a whole interesting journey. And now there's a whole journey around um marketing and like letting people even know that I'm doing this. It's funny, like over the years so many people ask me for like a dealer school. Oh, are you gonna ever have a dealer school? Also people ask me, because I used to supervise a lot, they asked me, oh, are you ever gonna be a manager and or a director and run a poker room, all that stuff. And it's interesting, like all these people over all this time, in order to reach out to them and talk to them about what I'm doing, it requires just a lot of energy and catching people at the right time. And yeah, I mean, having a big network is a good thing, but knowing how to use it is another. Let's see. Oh, gotcha. Cool. So yeah, anyway, I'm just here. I'm here to chat for a little bit. Let's see. I'm interested in learning. I wanted to get into dealing and found your videos from many years ago. Oh, great. Um, so it sounds like you're sort of at the beginning stage. Maybe you've messed around a little bit, having watched some of my videos and sort of learned a little bit here, a little bit there. Um, well, that's good. Listen, I will tell you right now in this exact moment, if you want to go to the True Poker Dealer website, I have a coupon code that you could use, and school starts on Monday. So if you wanted to do this coupon code, I haven't released the code to the public yet. I'm going to put it on the website soon for a flash deal where there's just a couple of spots with this coupon code. But if you use it here, I'll put it in the chat right now. If you go to the True Poker Dealer website and use that coupon code to sign up, the one that I just put right in the chat, you will get 50% off the school. And I don't know, I felt like sort of anyone that actually seemed like they might want to do this, I felt like I would just do this today as a fun little thing. Reward people for jumping in the chat. So if you're thinking about dealing poker and you can get 50% off remote school, it starts Monday. This is a great way to do it. This is not going to be like this all the time. Let's see, which videos have you found? This is also my way of testing because I just put it in there without an explanation of what it is. See if you're actually listening. Dealing poker is such an interesting job too. And one thing that I noticed yesterday when I was at Cherokee, I'm playing poker at Cherokee. The players are much quieter there, and they're just not chatting with each other. And like it was not 100% like that throughout the room, but I'd say for the first hour and a half, I was listening and I was chatting with my buddy about it. Like nobody in the whole room was really talking. And as from the dealer perspective, I'm just like, if this is the experience that a dealer has in a poker room where nobody's talking and everyone's 100% focused on the money and the poker, and it's like it really varies, right? Each place has its own culture. If this is the experience, um, Yeah, that makes sense. I see your comment. If this is the experience people are having, no wonder some people who are poker dealers, when they hear me talking about reading the table and knowing when you can interact with them and talk to the table and when you want to just like be quiet and be in the background, there's a lot of people that just say, shut up and deal, shut up and deal, shut up and deal, right? Um, and if the poker room culture is like that, I totally understand it. People don't always realize it's not always like that. Let's see. So you said I'll check it out, but I'll be honest, I was kind of priced out the first time I checked. Um, let's see. Well, I would say no worries, and this coupon code gets you 50% off. So if you felt priced out before, this might be a way for you to get in there, and I'm only gonna give a few spots at 50% off. So I mean, it's if you want, it's there. This is your opportunity. The 50% off ad probably goes up tomorrow at some point, and will probably just be there for a short period of time, first come, first serve, until the coupons are gone. Um, let's see. I just watched the basics from the first few you made, shuffling, flops, turns, rivers, stuff like that. Haven't watched the most recent stuff, but plan to. Great. Well, one thing that I'll say to you, and anyone that's in my remote school, I say this to them too. Um, in order to take yourself from the point where you start all the way to the point where you pass that audition and you get that job, um, and I sort of hear you like feeling into it a little bit. In order to get yourself all the way through it, whether you're in a full service school where they teach you absolutely everything, start to finish, like my remote school does, or a in-person school does, or if you're just like learning on your own, chatting with friends, having them show you stuff, maybe you know a dealer, some people learn like that, or learning underground or anything like that. No matter what it is you're doing, in this industry, in order to pass that audition, because there's a lot of information that goes into this job, you have to be your own teacher. You have to be dedicated to it. You have to take yourself seriously and just tell yourself, you know what, I'm going to do this. One of the things that people like about working with me is I make that easy for you by telling you exactly what to work on. Not just when you're with me in school learning, but also as soon as you leave, you know exactly what to do, and you have video of yourself to go back and make corrections on, where you not only know what to do, but you've been told by me in a live that we've done, here's what you need to correct, and then you get instructions on how to do that. So I make it as easy as you can possibly make it. You still have to put the work in yourself, of course, but I make it very easy for you compared to um, most other settings. I mean, the use of video, just like the NBA and MLB players do with coaches, they watch the tapes of all this stuff. Like I make it so much easier than others. So I'm just saying it like that. I sort of hate selling myself. I prefer um, selling myself by people actually getting to experience teaching from me, like learning from me. And then, that's how I prefer to sell myself. But this is the first remote dealer school, so I gotta tell you the thing and say what it is. But I appreciate you watching my videos. I appreciate you even being in the chat right now. And that coupon code is good for you. You're the first one to get access to it in the world. And um, yeah, come jump in. I want people to really have a good experience. And out of curiosity, you said you were kind of priced out the first time you checked. Like, what type of a price for somebody in your situation would feel good? Not saying I'll do whatever you say, but it's just good information for me. Like, I would like to know. Oh, Mark, if your remote dealer school was this price, I personally, in my situation, would say yes immediately. Like, what is that number? I would be curious to hear. And let's see. I thought about going back to Cherokee again, maybe playing an event or something like that. Um, it's just, it's tough. Like, I don't know how many people are single parents out there, but as a single parent, I got a lot of responsibility, and that's okay. Let's see. So what else is happening? It's 10:30 or so. I'll probably be on for an hour today. So another 35 minutes, and um I should probably put this in the chat. Let me see. Yeah, if you just join the room, say hi. Tell us where you are on your poker dealing journey, and yeah, let me know it's good. I was just saying that I might end this live stream earlier than the 90 minutes that I usually do. I got a lot to do today. Lot to do preparing for starting remote school on Monday. All right, let me take a look over here. What do we got going on? So he said, I'm not sure, but in my situation, I'm in college and I don't have a stable stream of income, so it's not something I could consider. Yeah, it's all right. Yeah, I would really like to be able to people in college is first of all, you're spending so much money already just to go to college. And the um you're spending so much money already to go to college. I was thinking about like, is it possible through the government in some way to get sponsorships for people, like scholarships rather, for people to take this class and I mean just help them get a job. But at the end of the day, it's tough. Like if you do get a scholarship to something, just the psychology of it, if you put your own money into something, you take it more seriously. Even I remember when I went to my dealer school when I learned, 20 years ago. My dealer school was for table games originally, and then after I got hired for that, they had an internal poker dealing school. But I remember thinking to myself back then, like this, I can tell the students in the class are expecting the teacher to carry them all the way through. But it's ironic because at the end of the day, they're like the student is the one auditioning for the job. And just it was a $75 class, so nobody really had enough skin in the game to be like, oh no, 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 I spent my money, I want to make sure that I do it. I actually think it's important for people to pay themselves. um and that may not always be the case, right? Like some people might be able, but I do think it really helps for a person to have skin in the game. And you said the 500-ish seems reasonable, right? So it would be just with the 50% off, if you use the TPD 50 code, it would be either 500-ish or 475 if you pay all at once. I think you have the option to get two payments. Um, and I think that's enough skin in the game for somebody to still like be a real yes and really like go for it. Well, I appreciate that feedback. You're basically saying that you think that's a reasonable price. Because I'm doing this remotely, I do feel like I can really work it a little bit and keep the price low for people. But you know, it's crazy. One thing about this industry that's so interesting is the training for this job is so inexpensive. Like you can get the entire cost of school back in a couple of days of work. And yeah, the math on that is pretty funny, right? Like it almost seems like it shouldn't be that way, but people in your situation in college, like you're not just like flowing with extra money. You're literally choosing to do something where you don't get paid for most of your time as a student and you're paying for it. And then the irony is this job is like one of the absolute best jobs that you can have as a student. Like the flexibility of it in some places is perfect for being a student. You can pick up shifts and go. They told me at Cherokee, I asked the guy, I was like, is it possible to just pick up and give up shifts really easily? He's like, yeah, there's a lot of new dealers that they want to pick up shifts and they're able to do it. And, some of us, he said, as a full timer, I got to make sure I hit my 32 hours a month or a week. But at Cherokee, and I mean, it's like that a lot of places. Like you can, as a poker dealer, more and more, it's becoming all, like more and more, it's becoming regular in the industry to have a flexible life in this job. One of the things that I want to do, and if you're watching right now and you're the right person, let me know. One of the things I want to do is have a weekly conversation about the industry in ways to make it better. And structuring a poker room the way that they used to do it, where it's difficult to swap shifts and it's difficult to pick up and give up your shifts. Like at this point, with some of the stuff that's out there with the software that I've seen, I mean that should be a thing of the past. Not being able to do that stuff uh, in Dallas, the way that they've got it structured is just beyond phenomenal. Like you can pick up someone's shift, you can give up your own shift, you can if someone's been at work as a dealer for like 2 hours, they can just post to the community, can someone come in and finish my shift? And nobody cares. They're totally fine with it. If someone's not working and someone says like, hey, can somebody out there finish my shift? First one to comment, come in, blah, blah, blah. Like just you'll take it over. And they just take it over. And when the second person gets there, they treat them like they were the person who started the shift. So like they only have to work a few hours if they want, if they get offered to go soon. They can put themselves on the EO and work 1 hour, whatever they want. Like you can also post into the community, hey, does anyone want their shift finished? People will see that and be like, yeah, I'd like to go. I got something else I could do today. It's amazing having that flexibility, and there's rooms that don't have that yet. They made it sound like at Cherokee they have that, but I didn't like look at their system or his app. But I'd be curious to see all that. But I mean, in 2026, like that stuff should be available. If you're the type of person that would like to have these conversations, I'm looking for somebody. There's someone that I've interviewed, and I might start with them, but I'm also open to anyone else, and it can be a more than two-person conversation as well. So if you're the type of person, send me an email, mark@truepokerdealer.com, marc@truepokerdealer.com, and I'll have a little chat with you and see if you're somebody that would be good to do this with. Because it just totally makes sense to make the industry better with conversation, right? Like there's so many things that are available across the board, but poker rooms don't really communicate with one another. They're competitors, and so there's got to be a place to go. And I can do that. I've got a YouTube channel. YouTube, by the way, YouTube is an amazing platform. Like they're just incredible. Sports Rule said, I never thought about that aspect. At first, my reaction was maybe surprised, never having looked at something like this before. You're talking about the remote dealer school, right? Yeah, totally makes sense. I mean, it's an innovation is the thing. Like first of all, it's not necessarily intuitive that a person would even be able to learn how to do this job, how to deal casino poker at home. Um, it seems counterintuitive. Well, it's like, wait a minute, don't I need a poker table? Don't I need like all the equipment? And I've got it figured out because I've been doing one-on-ones with people for years, and like I just help them get their little setup at home. It's like $150. It's not that much money in order to get your setup at home, and that's if you have zero equipment to start. You can have a completely workable setup at home for about $150. It's so simple. And then you have that available to you at home anytime you want to practice anything. And then all you got to do is just set up your phone or camera and line it up so you can do it. And then because it's recording, there's so much more value in being recorded when you're working with a trainer. And so in the class, it's going to be great. I'm really looking forward to doing this in the class. I've done this with a couple of people at the same time, and I've done it a ton with one-on-one, and I know exactly how to just integrate it. So yeah, it's an innovation, right? It seems counterintuitive that somebody would be able to learn without sitting in a room full of people where there's players at the table. But the powerful thing about doing it remotely, especially with me, is the process that you get. And I mean, if you've watched my videos, what I'm like as a teacher. So the type of communication that I'll give and the way that I think things through and communicate them back about the poker itself. And I mean, for me as well, like I take it real seriously to learn the person that I'm teaching. It's there's a lot of different methods for teaching out there, but for me, I think it's important to know who I'm teaching. And in the case of remote school, people are going to be in different parts of the country to some degree, and the people in the different parts of the country are going to be looking to get hired at different places, and so the requirements are not going to be the same for each person. So I will be having conversations with everybody in the remote school about, oh, which rooms are you trying to get hired at? Well, let's actually identify exactly what they audition on. Poker rooms don't hide that from us. They tell us that. They want us to know that because it's hard enough to pass an audition. They're just trying to see if you can deal the games that are in the room. So I can like take each person, and if someone doesn't actually care and doesn't want to learn all the mixed games because they're literally never going to have to worry about that, they don't have to do that. Like you can I'm going to focus on what makes sense for you to focus on, and we'll have the conversation and figure out what it is in the school. And I mean, I think the real thing that I should be doing in these live streams is probably just like broadcasting what the school is like by training people live, and letting people watch and see what that's like. And maybe that's what'll happen the next time around for when I go to do this. I do have it set up for one of the days in school to be actually live on YouTube just as a part of the whole thing. I'm assuming that I keep that and do that. I think it's a when is it? I think it's a week from today, actually. It's the last day of mechanics training. But yeah, I mean, this is going to be a fun thing for people to start realizing that it's available, because I mean there's so many people that don't live right next to a poker dealer school. Anybody who's in a situation where they could move for a job, but they can't afford to like travel somewhere, buy hotel for the entirety of the school, like 6 to 8 weeks, right? And just stay there for that whole time, just bleeding money, plus paying for the school on top of it. Like anybody in that situation, they should absolutely join the remote school, because this is going to be, especially with the TPD 50 code. Like if you're watching right now and you're in a situation where it would benefit you to learn at home, and, keep in mind, at the end of the school, you will not only have completed everything as long as you put the work in, you will not only have completed everything and passed one of my auditions, you will also have a copy of the video of you passing my audition that you can send to people, right? Like you can have it in a Google Drive doc. You can send a link to the video of it, and somebody could literally just watch you passing the audition with me. So not only are they going to see what your skills are, they're going to actually see the audition that I give you. They're going to hear me talking you through it, see you responding to it. Like the whole thing is amazing. Uh, I think it's funny that the standard right now in the industry in general, or in every industry in general, is if you take a course, you get a certificate. Okay. I understand that a certificate is a good thing. Our industry doesn't really need a certificate. Nowadays, like 95% of poker rooms are just looking for somebody that can do the job, and there's no legal requirement for a certificate. So almost nobody ever cares. There's a couple of poker rooms here and there that are still stuck in the past where they want that, but they don't actually need it. But all of these certificates that are out there, they're good. It says this school says you can do this job. But what's better is you passing an audition on video. That's a certificate. Your video of you passing the audition is so much stronger than a certificate. That is pure evidence that you are qualified to do the job in a poker room. Like there's nothing better than that. So, that's one thing that I absolutely love giving to people. And I do give that video to people that do one-on-ones with me that want it, right? One-on-one sessions, a lot of time I call them feedback sessions, because we stop so much during the audition, right? But if a person is at the end of my remote school, they learn from scratch with us, or even if they started already in the past and they come to do this, you're going to get something really, really cool. A video of you doing that. You could send that to poker rooms. The culture's there a little bit. I've had people send videos to poker rooms and get hired off the videos before. It's totally doable. It's not widespread, but it's also not something that people think about in poker rooms. So, if you're like in California and you're taking my remote school and you have the audition, you could send it to them, right? It's such a powerful thing. Do you have any experience with table games or just poker? I do have experience with table games too. Back in 2007, I started in table games. I worked both as a dealer and a supervisor for about 2.5 years, and that was across table games and poker. So I dealt blackjack. I did both shoe and pitch. It was double deck, and I did three card poker, Ultimate Texas Hold'em, Spanish 21, Pai Gow. Um, Let me see, roulette. I dealt craps. I boxed craps a little bit. I wouldn't say that my dice game is strong enough to educate anybody though. Like I was any given day when I came in, I would either deal or supervise. Some like today it might be table games, tomorrow it might be poker, it might be dealing today, it might be supervising tomorrow. It's like so I never really like got into craps that much, but all the rest of them I certainly did. Baccarat I learned as well. Um, what other table games were there? I think that might be all that was at that casino, but that was a long time ago. So, I dealt that for about 2.5 years. I don't teach it as much now. I do have a blackjack shoe here at the house, and there's like I could talk through how to do it still, but it's been so long that um, I would have insight over it and I could teach parts of it, but I wouldn't call myself true table games dealer. Like for poker, 100%, like more than 100%. For table games, I'm certainly experienced with it, but over 15 years, because the last time I dealt table games was 2009, so 17 years ago. So, I mean, because I'm still in the casino world, I'm sure I have it more in memory than people that did it 17 years ago and then haven't thought about it since then. But it's cool how quickly it comes back. My now ex-wife, she and I went together in 2007 and learned, how to deal table games. And we both stopped in 2009. And then she didn't have anything to do with casinos and then went and passed an audition for blackjack in, I want to say like 2018 or something like that, 2019. Um, it might, no, actually, you know what? It was 2021 she passed the audition. Wow. And that was pretty interesting. And all she did was just do a refresher for like an hour. Um, so it's pretty interesting. But I'm curious what makes you ask about table games. Because if you're looking to get trained in table games, I can give you some direction there too. Um, Also, I'd be curious like where you live in the country. But yeah, I mean, going back to the remote dealer school, I mean, I'm excited. It starts Monday, and this is the first time I'm doing it like this, and it's like it's interesting thinking about bringing this to Zoom um, on a large scale. Like my plan with all this is run the first one, and then I know for sure. I mean, I actually put the number of people that I would cap it at 20 originally, and then I said, no, 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 let me just do 15 because I know for sure I can do 15 with like zero problem. And I was wondering like how many people could I actually take on in the remote dealer school at the same time? And I mean, I'm curious is the answer. Like I'm curious what's available. I also do plan on, it would be a good thing for somebody to get into one of the early ones too. Like the very first remote dealer school, you're going to get trained, you're going to get to say that I was a part of the very first one, but also you have the opportunity to become, as one of the first people there. I'm going to be sort of like feeling into who might also be a good future trainer because for me to grow and expand this, I need people who can teach like I teach. And there's one thing about the industry that's really, um, it's interesting. Like they run into this in the Dallas poker rooms where I work. It's really hard to hire supervisors and managers from other casinos because the habits of other casinos are not the same as what they built in Dallas. Like the Dallas rooms are really successful, and in order to make them so successful, they had to sort of unwire people's minds for some of the traditional casino things. And there's a lot of friction there because people are really, really stuck in their ways. It's the same thing with teaching people the way that I teach them. I do not teach people the traditional, like, casino way where it's like you just tell people do this, do that, do this, do that. You're trying to trick them and you're doing it in a like if you get it, you get it. If you don't, too bad type of way. For me, it's more like I'm working with people and giving them processes where I'm helping them understand how to go through and correct themselves. And, also a lot of people that run dealer schools have not done more than 1,000 actual auditions and have not hired more than 500 poker dealers in their career, right? Like it's a totally different thing working with me because you get the process. Anyway, my point was I'm not going to go out there and hire an existing poker dealer trainer because they're going to have a bunch of belief systems that don't facilitate learning in the way that I expect people to facilitate learning. And so, I'm going to be looking for people that I've personally trained. And once you get personally trained by me, yeah, I mean, you just understand it. You understand the difference. I had somebody send me an email that worked with me recently, after a session. And like, I actually want to read this because I think it really helps illustrate what I'm talking about. It was such a beautifully worded email. And it's just, I mean, this is literally how it is. Um, Let me see. Yeah, I want to read this because it was very nice to read. Here we go. Um, this was 9 days ago. They worked with me one on one, and it's the same quality of working with me that you get when you are in the remote school. I can't thank you enough for your kindness, Mark. For taking the time to understand and give me all this direction means a lot. You're like a poker doctor. I will try everything you told me to do with whatever time I have, and hopefully one day I will look back and laugh at myself. She was having trouble, just in general with, like, she's been a poker dealer for a year already. I work with a lot of people that are already poker dealers too, not just people that are learning. Like, people, once somebody gets the job, if they feel like, in her case, there's a high stakes PLO game that she wants to be able to deal that they don't let her go to yet because she's good enough for the rest of the games in the room, but she has trouble with that one. I didn't teach her originally. Um, she did use my course, but she also like learned at a school. A lot of people do that. They'll use my course to as a supplement to learn a bunch of stuff, and then they'll also go to a dealer school somewhere. Now I have a dealer school, so you get both with me. But yeah, so she was basically like people that start dealing poker, but they've never thought about playing poker for a second in their life. Sometimes they're a little disconnected and they memorize everything. And when anything weird happens, they don't know, they're not grounded into the game of poker, so they have a little bit of confusion around it. And she was experiencing that, so I was sort of guiding her through that. She said, no matter what happens with my progress, you would still be the best teacher I have been, watching, who teaches every details. Appreciate that. Thank you for the encouragement. I got this. I'll keep you posted on what's next. So basically, she's saying like, you gave me a bunch of instructions, Mark. I'm gonna work on this in whatever time I have and just get better, and I'm gonna let you know how it goes. And I appreciate that. It's such a nice email to receive. I get stuff like that, when I work with people regularly. Um, I applied to be a dealer. Let me see. I applied to a dealer academy local to me in Michigan, but I think I was late. I'm into blackjack as well. Those are my biggest interests, or those are my two biggest interests. Oh, got you. All right. Well, um, what do they, just out of curiosity, so I can understand, what do they charge for the local academy in Michigan? Um, all of this type of information is just valuable for me to know. So if you don't mind sharing it, I always appreciate finding out. It's like I have a huge advantage, being on YouTube and interacting with people all over the country regularly about like learning to deal poker and about dealing poker in general. And also there's so many places to keep track of. I mean, and it's not just in the country too. It's in like the whole world. People are learning all kinds of different things and paying all different amounts and making all different amounts of money, and the answers change over time. But yeah, I'd be curious in Michigan. By the way, the first thing I thought of when I saw Michigan is it must be freezing up there. I lived in Massachusetts for years and I was cold all the time, and then I ended up going to Florida, and now I live in North Carolina, and I'm thawed out a little bit. It's not as cold as it used to be, but yeah, I mean, it's so hard to keep track of all the differences in all the different states, but I do my best with it. But, I can't be shy. I got to ask, like, how much do they charge for a dealer school out in Michigan? And how long is the school and all that stuff? I mean, you sound like you would honestly love taking this course. Like, I just offered you a 50% off code. You really couldn't find somebody to front you that and you just pay them back later? Um, oh, you can, it was unpaid, but I don't think it cost anything. So that sounds like you're talking about a dealer school that's a part of a casino that probably is having trouble getting poker dealers trained, or getting people that are applying for jobs that are near there. Sometimes in like Ohio and like I say Ohio just because I've spoken to the poker room managers there. They have trouble keeping enough dealers on staff, and there's not a lot of people in that immediate area that are trained poker dealers because it's a specific skill set. Like you don't just have random people in your town if there's uh like they would either be working there already or they'd be somewhere else, or so a lot of the time they run schools just to be able to keep dealers there where they offer it for free because they need dealers and that's what it takes to get them. Other places where there's more poker rooms and more competition, the dealer schools can get very expensive, and there are some schools that'll cost you more than a couple thousand. um but yeah, I appreciate it if you send me the posting. It's just interesting to see all this stuff. um You would probably be correct, he said. So I'm assuming that I'd be correct about them needing dealers, and so they just do the training. Another reason, like table games will do training in-house a lot too, because it's great if you can find a table games dealer that's fully trained, that's great. But each casino has its own procedure, has its own rules and all this stuff. And um, it's like when each casino has its own rules and they want these procedures for table games is different. They need the dealer procedures to be pristine with exactly what they're supposed to be doing because it's house's money that they have to keep track of, and things can go very quickly at the table, and they need surveillance to be able to review it, and so the procedure has to be perfect. And you'll see sometimes that a table games dealer will be corrected by a supervisor on the spot if they're doing something that they need to adjust to the procedure. All that to say, there's a lot of casinos that train table games dealers, and they just say, you know what, we're just going to eat this cost. We need them trained, and we need them trained our way, and it is what it is. So a lot of people do it that way. But yeah, I appreciate you going back and forth with me. If anyone else, if you're in the chat right now and or in the watching this live stream, say hi. Tell me where you at in your poker dealing journey. Maybe you're an experienced dealer, maybe it's your first time, maybe you're my mom watching. Say hi, whoever you are, and tell us what you find interesting about this live stream and what you're looking to hear me talk about. Like, I'm here for you guys right now. I've got remote school coming up. I'm going to be busy. I'm not going to be on live stream when remote school is coming up. I will be here now, and then once live school starts, I will be there. I will be on my remote school teaching people. And yeah, I am I'm here. Sometimes I run out of stuff to say, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I'm still on camera. That's why I say periodically, like, I really enjoy dialogue. Monologue sort of sucks. Like me just talking to a camera, revealing my thoughts about whatever. Oh, I had an interesting conversation yesterday, about the idea of, so something that I learned in Dallas as a poker dealer, and this contradicts what I used to understand about supervising, managing, just poker rooms in general, and running a good room. Something I learned in Dallas was that there are some situations when, and I've said this recently, but like, let's say over here, we got the button here. I'll move this out of the way for a sec. All right, and I'll make it a little easier. I'll put the button right here. Okay, buttons here. We got small blind, big blind, and we'll give everybody some cards. All right, we'll give five hands out. All right. So you got small blind, big blind, and um, let's say this person raises. Sorry, this person calls. This person over here raises to 20, And over here, you've got a new player to the game. Let's pretend they don't have all this money. So we'll move this over here, just make it a little bit more realistic. All right. You got a new player to the game. They don't play a ton of poker. They're just sort of here for the first time, and they don't see, because this is to the dealer's right. They don't see this $20 and they throw out two trying to call. If this happens and this player immediately then takes it back and sees, oh, it was 20, and then they fold, a lot of poker rooms are going to say, well, that money went in when it was your turn, and that has to stay in the pot. And that rule makes sense. Okay. It's a good rule. Some poker rooms will make them call the 20. Some poker rooms will make them just lose the $2. And the conversation that I was having with the poker manager that I know was, I've learned when to let this player take back that $2 and when it's got to stay in, right? And uh, I would say for a new dealer, someone that's been dealing for less than a year, maybe 6 months or less, then you probably always want to make that player put the $2 in, because you're just trying to figure out how to do this job still. You're still new. But um, you said, do YouTube DMs exist? No, there's no DMs here. It is one of the bummers about this particular platform. But you can send me an email, mark@truepokerdealer.com. It's MARC@truepokerdealer.com. And then we can go back and forth there if you'd like. Appreciate that. So one of the things that we were discussing is, what happens when you put this player is new to poker, they put this $2 in, you make them keep it in there, they don't want to. $2 feels like a lot to them gambling. It's their first time doing this. You guys remember, like, the first time you play poker, this $2 feels like way more to you than the 150th time that you play poker. $2 feels like a lot less at that point, right? So they put the $2 in, and the question is, when there's literally two decisions, right? They either lose the $2 or they get it back. When there's two decisions, if one of those decisions is going to upset this player so much that they have a bad feeling and they don't want to come back and play poker again because they had a bad experience, versus giving it back to them, if it's going to upset someone else at the table a little bit, but they're still going to come back. The real question is, does it make sense to force them to put that $2 in? And traditional casino logic and poker logic is that that $2 is in there. There's a rule and you follow the rule. And it's just an interesting question to ask of, does it make sense to enforce the rule 100% under that circumstance? And the thing that they've found in you said Insta, okay. If you can find me on Instagram, True Poker Dealer, then yeah, you can send it to me there for sure. I don't check it periodically, but now that I know that you're gonna be sending me a message, I'll make sure that I find it. Facebook is good too. All that stuff is good. Yeah, thanks for asking that. Anyway, so the point is, the question is, if you follow what everyone else does, which is force this player to put this $2 and keep the $2 in here, versus a new solution that might be better, like, how much money are you costing the room, especially if this is a new recreational player, in the long run? And the answer is a lot. If you chase this player away by giving them a bad experience versus a good experience when there's almost no reason not to, it's an interesting conversation. And it's not the type of thing that I'm going to teach in the remote school, because in the remote school we need to focus on just getting somebody audition ready. But the question is, like, one thing that I'm building up to with True Poker Dealer is, remote school comes first for people that are learning to deal, and then eventually it's going to open up for people that are in a later stage of their dealing, that are already dealing and want to be able to take yourself to another level. And this is the type of thing that we talk about in the advanced course. The question is, are you a like beginner dealer, or are you really like crushing it as a poker dealer? And I think these conversations are important, and training people properly in this industry is really important. There's a lot of things that we do that we just sort of do blindly at this point, where there's just a better way. And that's part of the conversation that I want to be having with people over time. But yeah. So anyway, just to wrap that up, let me see. Actually, no, I use my phone for live stream, so I can't check Instagram until after. But let me see. What else makes sense here to talk about? I do have a lot to do today. Um, Let me say this: if there's a topic that someone wants to put in the chat and say hi with, I'm happy to go down that, talk about it. I'll be on here about 5 more minutes, unless there's a little more to talk about. Like, I appreciate you being in the chat, Sports Rule. What sports, by the way? Like, what sports do you like? Um, Sports Rule 193. I thought it was really interesting. My 13-year-old is in eighth grade, and he's about to be going, or he just turned 14. He's about to be going to high school next year. And they offered him, like, here's the courses, here's the classes, you got to figure out which ones you want to take. And they offer a marketing class that's just regular marketing. And they also offer a sports and event marketing class. So they have two different versions of marketing class. And one of them is regular, and the other one is teaching people marketing through sports. And I thought that was a really interesting way to do things where, like, it's a way to make it a little bit more exciting just for people in school. I thought that was good. And that was the one that my son chose. He said he wanted to learn marketing, but he really wanted to learn it in a way that felt more exciting for him. So yeah, so a couple more minutes in the chat for anyone that's there. And if you're listening now, keep an eye out on the website. I will be offering a flash deal for remote school. A little last minute thing. No telling when it'll go up, but um, let's see. Oh, we do have a question. All right. Well, I can certainly do this. Appreciate you jumping in there. Can you explain the different betting rule? In Europe is more common to, I don't, maybe you're just getting the comment in, so I stay for a second. All right. Um, I've used this nickname for 10 plus years, but mainly the big four, and then I bowl collegiately. All right, no problem. Let me see. Moving forward versus cutting and release. Moving forward versus cutting and release. Um, well, I will try based on what you're asking to answer the thing that you're asking. And so let's see. So let's say that I'm this player over here. Um, let's do this. When I go over here, I need this to go this way. Great. All right, so let's say that I'm this player right here, you can see. So moving forward versus cutting and release. So in poker, and we go over all this stuff in remote school. Let's give this player more chips too for the demo. So the the difficult thing about this is that different poker rooms have different rules about forward motion. Some places have a betting line and all that. Like, there's a working space concept and all that stuff. I'm going to break it down with just the basic, like, most common practice one, and then we can talk about any questions that you have for that. And thank you for the question. So this right here, this area right here about is here, let me actually zoom in on this a little and just make this, like, even easier for anyone that wants to see. So we're gonna center it around where this player is right here. So this area right here, this is the player's working space. And they're gonna have cards, say that they have their cards right here. This is the player's working space. In their working space right here, this player has to have the ability to count chips for themselves so that they can figure out how much they want to bet, and they have to have the ability to make a bet. So if I'm playing here and I go like this and I start counting chips out to myself, and I'll do it like a player where they don't know how to cut them properly, because a lot of players are just like, they have to be able to do this. So the first thing that I'll say is moving chips from here to here, even though it's going forward, generally speaking, in most poker rooms, is not considered significant. And there's as a dealer, you need to learn the rules of your poker room first and foremost. But let's say that you're in my poker room and I'm the one that has the poker room. If you're in my poker room, I'm going to be telling you, allow a player to have an area near where they're sitting where they can move chips back and forth in an insignificant way, where they're trying to count them. And then pay attention to the general location of where they bet regularly. Okay, so if this player is regularly cutting out chips here, and then they take their chips and then they bet over here, as a dealer, I essentially learned that about that player. And it might seem hard to memorize each player. It's actually not that hard to have a sense for this, and I can explain that in a second too. But when a player comes out sets up their chips over here, and they then go and they bet over here, we're saying that this is not forward motion. This is their chip counting area, and then this is their betting area. This is why some places have a betting line. The general consensus in the industry, though, is that the betting line causes more problems than it solves. But that's like sort of one version of it. Now, the thing you're asking is a lot of people will come out like this with chips forward. Now they've clearly made a bet. As a dealer, you call that a bet. You don't say it until they're done, but that's a bet. And then they might have all these chips in their hand, and then they might go like this and cut out 40, and they might even leave one there and then pick it up and then bring it back. That is generally in almost every poker room that is going to be allowed. They came out with a bunch of chips. They came out with a bunch of chips into their betting area. So now they're in their betting area, which is different than just moving forward a little bit to their counting area. They went into their betting area and they cut out chips and they figured out the amount that they wanted. And it was relatively fluid. It didn't feel like there wasn't really any opportunity in it. Even if they accidentally came out and put this amount down and they were like, oh, I wanted this much, and they do it like that, that's generally considered fine. Some poker rooms can have a incredibly tight interpretation of the rule, where these, if it comes out like this and then they take these two off, maybe you say no, those were there, but I can't imagine any value in that. A lot of the times, it says Insta DM sent. Thank you. I'll check that out as soon as we're done. A lot of the times, the poker room is going to have a rule where, um, when they come out here, it's so this is fine. If you come out like this here, let me show you two things. First one's fine. Second one, not fine. This is fine. Okay, totally fine. $60 bet. This is not fine. Where you come out and you pause, and now is about when it's too long, and they do the last one. That would be considered a string bet in most cases. Um, but the rest of this money that was in the hand generally does not need to become a part of the bet. The place where this gets tricky, and part of the reason why I am a believer in handling these things intelligently case by case instead of creating a rule that just is the overall overarching everything. If you handle things case by case, you have the ability to discourage people from using the rule as an angle, where they can just claim innocence or something like that. If you make it so that this is allowed, and um, as a dealer, you let them cut out and then come back after this amount of time and come down. If you have a rule where they can just stay there for as long as they want and keep cutting, and there's no concept of a string bet for it, then people will start eyeballing the other people at the table and looking around, and now they have a variable amount that they can bet. So that's why we call that a string bet in there. But in general, there's all kinds of rules that like a player, if you have a specific working space and you say this area, or they have the ability to define their own working space and they cut out chips here, they could bet here sometimes and leave it there, and then other times they could put it here and say, oh, I didn't do anything. And as a poker room, you need to discourage that by, um whenever somebody like violates the rule or misuses it, you actually take care of that each time, right? You don't allow that. You sort of got to give the other person the benefit of the doubt. But for the most part, forward motion, once you come into your betting area, then you have to make a bet. You can cut out chips, bring back the rest. You can put the whole thing here. One thing you can't do is you can't go like this and then come back and cut it down. Like once you take your hand off of it, it's supposed to be a bet. Um, and I mean, there's all these variations of it too. Like I've seen some poker rooms where they have a betting line, and if someone goes across the betting line with chips, all the chips that were in their hand are in play. I hate that rule. I think it's terrible. It booby traps so many different things. Um, but yeah, I guess so. One of the reasons that I really like working with people one on one, and I really like what's coming in remote school is you just ask the question in text, but I don't really get much more context about it. Um, and so I'm not sure exactly what you're asking. If we were in a one-on-one or if we were in remote school, you would be able to describe more of what you're talking about, and I would be able to understand the question considerably better so that I could answer it really well. Um, but I personally love the working space concept. And as a dealer, if you're not sure and a player comes out here and you think that maybe they do bet there and then they go like this and they take it and they end up changing it and putting it out like that. Like if I'm a dealer and I watch something like that, um, I might be totally fine, honestly. I might be totally fine with the the player making that bet, but it depends, right? So I would say to them after the hand, if they make that bet, like because here's the thing. This rule is in place to prevent people from angling and taking advantage of others. Okay. If I have a 92-year-old man at the table, and this happens, who's drooling down his face, but he's got enough in here to play 2-5 no limit for $1,500 buy-in, but he's got drool running down the side of his mouth onto his shirt, like, and I've seen this before, and he just doesn't he's looking down at his chips and he's doing his best to figure this out. If that person is the one that we're penalizing for the working space confusion, we've got it wrong, right? So this stuff gets, oh, you said I completely answered it. Thanks, that's what I meant. You completely answered it, what I wanted. Great. But I mean, yeah, there's a lot of variation there, and I believe that the best poker rooms are run where you're sort of like figuring things out. There's another thing too. I had a player at my table like a year ago in a 1-2 no limit game, and they did the thing where they came out with like 5 green chips. It went let me see. It went Actually, what was it? Hold on. Let me remember the exact circumstance. It went like this. It went like, oh, you can see this still good. 5 to 15. And they came out with 3 green chips. And they dropped them and immediately picked up 2 of them. And it's an interesting spot as a dealer when a player does that. Coming down with $75 here, putting it down and then immediately picking up 2 of them, or maybe it was 50 and he immediately picked up one of them or something like that. Whatever it was, the friendly thing to do that's not generally done in poker rooms is to say like, "Oh, what were you betting there?" And here's what I said to him. See, I understand something. A lot of players will try to use an angle with the rules where they have aces, which he had, and they're trying to make it so it seems like a mistake to get a lot of people to put a lot of money in the pot. Because if they genuinely believe his act, that he's putting 75 in there by accident and he's only trying to call 15, they're going to be jamming on him. They're going to be trying to push their stacks in to get him because they know for sure he doesn't have aces in their head and he's an actor. And so, like, as a way to protect the game in that case, and I don't teach this in remote school, like when you're a new dealer and you're trying to pass an audition and then you're starting working, you just do your best to understand all this stuff. But as the dealer who's experienced, I said to him, so as a dealer, we have different things available to us in order to communicate to a player from a place that they can't really argue with. So I said, oh, our chips are pretty sticky. So I understand, like, you didn't mean to put that there, so it's a call. Uh, and like, if he told me he wanted to raise, now he's announcing to the table that he wanted to raise, and if he did it immediately, I might have let him raise. Does it violate rules and stuff like that? Yes. As an experienced dealer, I can hold that a little bit better. As a new dealer, you can't deal with this stuff. But I made him reveal himself is the point, and it prevented him being able to angle at the table in that moment because he actually chose his bet. He chose, oh, I guess I just call. But you could see that he wanted to raise. Anyway, I don't know. I'm sort of rambling about this, but you guys get the idea. Um, all right, here we are, back to the chat. Anybody else have anything that they want to chat about before we are done? What is this? Oh, interesting. It links that. That's cool. If anybody has anything else that you guys want to chat about before we're done, let me know. I will be here tomorrow and Sunday at, I think it's 10 a.m. Yeah, tomorrow, Sunday, and then a short one on Monday. 10 a.m. I'll be here the next 3 days doing live streams. Um, I'll give you guys a chance right now to put anything else you want in the chat, any last comments, questions, a couple more minutes, and then I'm gonna get to work just continuing to prepare for live stream. I got a quick little video I gotta record and some stuff like that. So um, I'll just hang out here for a moment. And thank you for that question, Marvin. I appreciate that very much. And let's see. So yeah, so anyone else have anything else? Another 30 seconds or so we'll do. And then I will say thank you. And hopefully I see some of you guys in remote school. It's going to be a really good first time through. And I have a couple of surprises for people that are in the school. But appreciate you guys for being here and always curious who's in the chat. It's been a quieter chat today, but also I'm just being random with these live streams. So, all right. Thank you guys. I don't see anyone else saying anything, so I will see you tomorrow.